What is up, everybody? Trip Morgan here for Panthersource.com, joined by my boy Billy every week, bringing the post-game action from all the Carolina Panthers games each and every week, breaking down divisional play, the playoff race, everything we can. What's up, Billy? How you doing today?
Good. How about you? Glad to see us win today.
Oh, yeah, big one on the road, an ugly one. It was definitely an ugly one. We talked about this, in previews the last 2 weeks and post-games about it being a potential trap game for Carolina. They're red hot, coming off two great, rushing performances at home, going into the bye week. We did what we needed to do, and then you knew we were chasing down the Saints and trying to keep pace with them. We have them the week after this game coming out of the bye, and Ron Rivera talked about it all week, saying, look, guys, don't get caught up and worrying about the Saints. You need to focus and get this win first. Otherwise, it's kind of pointless. And it seemed, to me anyway, I think it's impossible not to think about the Saints, but I think we saw some of those things. Rivera improves to 3 straight wins after the bye, after starting with the Panthers pretty bad in that category, him and Cam Newton himself. But they get the win. Ugly, some big late plays by special teams, Kalen Clay, the undrafted rookie, and also, of course, the GOAT, Luke Kuechly, on the scoop and score for the Panthers defense. 2 big plays. Cam struggled today, obviously, but nonetheless a win. And we're on to New Orleans, who also just lost to the Rams, which is why we are going live now. We told y'all we'd go live after the 4 o'clock games, and we actually were able to sit down and watch that, so we'll be able to talk about that as well. But big win.
Yeah, it was a huge win, and yeah, Cam definitely struggled today. And when it got to the end of the game, I'm glad the defense was able, and defense and special teams were able to score that ball. Because Cam had a rough time today against that defense.
Yeah, definitely did. And we're going to jump straight into it here. Y'all be sure to hit the comments, like, follow, share. If you have other Panther fans, be sure to tag them, let them join the discussion. We're here to talk to y'all. We come fresh off of these games, trying to keep up with everything else going on in NFC South for playoffs and whatnot right now. So there might be some things some key plays we miss and don't talk about that y'all remind us of. It happens every now and then. So be sure to hit them if you don't see us discuss it. But we'll jump right into the offense here. We started off talking about it. Cam Newton, not his best game. He was, he missed some open targets again. It almost looked, his first pass of the game went straight to Greg Olsen for a first down. Middle of the field. It looked classic Cam to Olsen, and you're thinking, okay, good. They got off to a good start early, and then it just quickly started to die down. Olsen ended with that 1 catch for 10 yards. Now, Cam did miss him. Part of what we were talking about was he did miss him a few times, opening the end zone once. And I think there was another one on a deep play out of bounds, like on a corner route out of bounds.
Yep.
Missed him there, too. But so Olsen went out 1 for 10 after that early catch. And then, actually, it was said in the game he re-aggravated the same foot injury that was surgically repaired, which we were kind of worried about going into this.
Yep. And
that's something, we'll have to watch. But afterwards, Rivera said that it was just sore, and they pulled him. And it sounds like, and, we were talking about this during the game, it sounds like, and I'm hoping we'll know more through practice, obviously, that it was more precautionary, mainly for next week, obviously, and just to keep him healthy.
Yeah, our offense without Olsen has been fine the past 2 weeks. If he had that soreness, then yeah, definitely let him get back on the sideline, let him ice it up. Don't want to force him, and don't want to force too much play on him coming off his 8 weeks on the IR.
Yeah, there's Ed Dixon. He's not Greg Olsen, but he's been efficient enough. We've been winning games the last few weeks without him. With Ed Dixon, without Olsen. But with the Saints game coming up next week, it was kind of like, Ron Khalil injury coming in this game. He was active. And, there's been a lot of negativity from Panthers fans I've seen, from our page alone and on Twitter somewhat, saying that, it's time to move on from Ryan Khalil. And I don't necessarily agree with that quite yet. But, Khalil was active today, and it's like I said earlier when I posted before the game, I said I wouldn't expect him to see him play. It's probably just more for depth issue at this point. And he's there on a need-be basis, and let him come back next week and have that extra week to heal. That's always going to help, and maybe he'll come back. Something's definitely going on more than he woke up with a sore neck. We've talked about this week in and week out. But Cam Newton, 11 of 28, 168 yards, no passing touchdowns. He didn't throw an interception, 59.8 rating. Really nothing to hit on too much, but he just had a rough day. He was missing targets, and I really think, part of the thing with Olsen was he's probably doesn't have that timing quite back down. I mean, he's been working with Dixon the majority of this year. It might take him some, we kind of hit on this as you were a little bit worried about it last week, talking about it, saying, let's not have too high expectations for Olsen, which is fair. But my whole thing was him being on the field will be the difference maker, similar to McCaffrey. He might not be getting the ball, but they're going to have to pay attention to him. And I think they did that.
Yeah, they did do that. And, we were questioning why he wasn't on the field more before that report came out. But, yeah, it worked fine with him coming back. But I was worried that people had really high expectations, like, here we go, here's going to be our number one offensive weapon. Here he's just going to score all the touchdowns, catch every pass. But Cam's got to get that chemistry back. And today, I don't think that it wasn't chemistry with Olsen. It was just Cam was off.
Yeah.
I mean, he was missing wide open targets, overthrowing big time, and that's something we haven't seen as consistent as it was today for a couple games. And
chemistry may not have been the right word. Timing is probably more the word I'm looking for, because, like I said, he's been working with Dixon, and speeds at different positions will cause headaches for quarterbacks switching back and forth between them. He gets used to Dixon, but you're right. I mean, it wasn't just Olsen he struggled with today. He missed CMC on a couple times today. I felt like Devin Funchess dropped the same pass that he called against Miami, Cam placed on him today. He dropped that, and it was a good play for him coming back to the ball. But while we're talking about Funchess, let's go ahead and hit on this, because he did exactly what we have been talking about since we got rid of Kelvin Benjamin, as far as things KB didn't bring to this team. Devin Funchess, 7 catches, 108 yards, coming off a 92-yard performance against Miami, 2 touchdowns. And he just made catches on the sideline, ridiculous hands catches, beat defenders, and racked up that yak that we kept talking about, big play after big plays. Averaged 15.4 yards per catch today. No touchdowns, but...
there's something about Funchess after I watched the game. It's like the plays he make are memorable. Yeah. When I would watch the game and then say, what did KB do today? And I could never think of the positives that I see Funchess has done since we got rid of KB. Coming back to the ball, playing physical, getting the yak. I don't miss KB at all. No. And it's something that I love to see. And when I think about the game later, I can remember the plays that our number one wide receiver became a playmaker. And that was something we never had with KB, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And, I went live and talked about that immediately the day of the trade. And a lot of people were commenting in saying, this is stupid, this is dumb, yada, yada, yada. And, look, I don't fault anybody. Everybody has their own opinion. But I've got on the show and harped time after time after time about KB early on in the season getting beat by smaller quarterbacks. And I think that horse is dead enough, so we won't hit on it too much more. But Funchess is really coming into his own. When they needed the plays, Cam locked into Funchess. And, Funchess was there. It wasn't like KB where there was hardly any to no window to throw it in, and he was hitting them back to back to back. We're going to hit on the running games. I see some people already commenting in on that. 145 yards as a team rushing, not the 200-yard performances we've seen the past 2 consecutive weeks, but nonetheless, it ended stronger than it started. Christian McCaffrey looked good again, had the big, he had 7 carries, 62 yards. One of those was the big rip-off for that chunk gain early on in the game. Jonathan Stewart, 15 carries for 26 yards, a measly 1.7 yards per carry, and again, had another fumble in this game on a fake handoff to McCaffrey and pitch to him, in which he had plenty of room to run. I don't know if he looked where he was going and didn't look to catch the pitch in. And it doesn't matter to this point for me, because those are plays he has to make. And I got into a little feud on Twitter with one of our followers, and he was saying something about blaming Mike Shula, and I'm like, look, I'm not a Mike Shula lover, and I've expressed that here, but I don't necessarily knock the guy completely either. When Stewart did that, it put us in 2nd and long, and then ultimately a 3rd and long, and that killed that whole start of that drive early on. And he was saying something about, well, Mike Shula doesn't need to be throwing tosses with Jonathan Stewart. Look, Jonathan Stewart's a running back in the NFL. If he can't catch a toss, he doesn't need to be in the damn NFL. That's how it is to me. And you can't sit here and say, you need to throw tosses and stretch plays to McCaffrey and run Stewart inside, because you know what you're doing? You're telling defenses exactly what you're going to do every time somebody lines up in that backfield. So that's not going to work, guys, and that's just me. But I will say this: Stewart's got to get it together, and you saw McCaffrey was out there again after that, seemed to be out there more and more, and you even saw Cameron Artis-Payne come in. So, of course, he had one carry for no yards, essentially, but
and I'm not one to defend Shula, but Shula's not the one to execute.
Right, exactly.
And that's Jonathan Stewart is failing to execute week after week.
And the next play after that Stewart pitch, Cam missed Ed Dixon wide open for a first down going to the sidelines on an out route. And you can't blame Schuler for that. Receivers were open today. Cam missed them. We love Cam to death. I'm a big Cam defender, but when he messes up, he messes up. I mean, we have to accept that. What is your take on Stu? We just talked about that. Good win today. Luke, yes, Luke. Johans West, I think we still need a proven wide receiver and use Cap more. What do y'all think? As far as the receiver goes, I mean, we could always use a big playmaker. I think Funchess has really stepped into that role well. We just kind of we're hitting on that with the receiving group. Curtis Samuel being out hurt us, and I think that was really, it was. You could see it today.
Yep.
I mean, there was no hiding it. We were hoping Kalen Clay would come in. He dropped some passes, open passes from Cam. Cam maybe delivered one or two that Kalen Clay just isn't going to make. Tight windows that you typically see, like the slant to Funchess off play action. They were doing that with Clay today, and that's just not going to work. But then Clay stepped up and made the big special teams play.
Yeah, special teams play, and he had the end around that usually is what's his name? I can't.
It's normally with Samuel or Demir Bird. The same play,
but today same play with Clay, and it worked. And I said I wanted to see a lot more motion, and when I told you I was like, Arma's out, maybe there's going to be more of that. We didn't see a lot of motion in the backfield, but I did like that play call at that point.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that play call. They don't use it a lot, but that's a play you can't use a lot, or it's not going to be effective. They'll be looking for it. I'm a big fan of that play, and Samuel had it for 30 yards earlier this year. I think Bird, it's actually the same play Bird broke his forearm on, and I think he picked up like 20 off of it. So it's gone for 20 or plus more yards every time. Big play. And while we're hitting on Demir Bird in this offense, Demir Bird is eligible to come back next week. So that'll be something to watch. If he's able to come back and is actually healthy, we'll have to see how he is in practice, along with Greg Olson, Ryan Khalil. Could really be a big boost going into next week's game in New Orleans against the Saints. Let's see if there's anybody else we need to talk about. I see some comments.
I want to touch on the rushing real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Bring those stats up. So, I see a lot of people, and every week, the past 2 weeks, everybody apologizes to Stu. He had a good game. This week, 15 for 26. Some are going to say the box is stacked, whatever.
Yep.
McCaffrey with 7 carries for 62 yards. I haven't looked at film, but I don't know if there was anything different on that field, if the defense was set up any differently. McCaffrey seems just to play smarter.
Yeah, it seems he's adjusted well.
Yes.
We talked about that after his first big game. Mm-hmm.
And I just, like I said at the beginning of the year, I'm not a fan of Stu so far through this year, and I don't think that we need to be apologetic to Stu after today.
No, absolutely not.
And I just want to put that out there because I think him and McCaffrey run against the same box. I just think that Stewart has lost a little bit of his edge.
Yeah, and I'll say this too. When the Panthers' offense really started getting shut down today, and Cam got sacked like back to back on that one drive, I think it was to start the second half. Actually, the first drive of the second half, the Jets did just that, and it had me worried for about 2 drives. They stacked the box, had one safety playing high, and jammed the receivers at the line, and were sending the house on Cam. And obviously, I mean, there's not much you can't ask the line to do so much against too many defenders, and they were hitting them and getting to him immediately. Cam doesn't have time to throw the ball. He didn't have a check down or anything. So he was getting hit on that. So that's a good point. Now, granted, McCaffrey's, like we said today, McCaffrey's majority of his yards came off that one big play. And that was a great hole by the offensive line. I mean, that's exactly what that was. He hit the second level and his speed showed. But we've seen this last month when McCaffrey gets the ball consistently, he just seems to do so much better. It's not in and out this, in and out. He gets more of a feel for the game. And, I think that's just with any running back. The more you get the ball and get to see the line and how that defense works, I think the more you get a feel for the game and how it's going to go, and you can adjust to that. McCaffrey early on just seemed to have a problem with NFL speed, but I think they've made a good adjustment to that. Jordan Sink, hi Trip. Hey Jordan. Olsen hurt again. Yeah, they said they originally said he re-aggravated his foot, but it was just sore, is what Rivera said after the game. Olsen was standing on the sidelines the whole time, so if it was really bothering him, I don't feel like they'd have had him on the sideline just standing there with all of his gear on and everything else. I think he'll be fine. I think it was more precautionary. Johannes West commenting again. Stewart is running a little scared, trying to make something happen, but he does not trust his offensive line at all. We need Cap. I wanted to say this about Stewart, too, before I got running off. When he had that 2 fumble game, he bounced back and went for was the first 100-yard rusher, single 100-yard rusher for the Panthers this season. And he's had big games against the Saints in New Orleans. And I don't hold – it's like he said, I'm not going to sit here and defend Jonathan Stewart. And I said early this season I didn't think he was done. Last year he led running backs in yards after contact in the whole entire league. But if he can bounce back next week, he'll be right back in the good graces with the coaches. The coaches aren't going to give up on him, and I hope he doesn't give up on himself and start doing just that, because when he's on top of his game, it's hard to beat him. But we'll just have to see how they do it, how the Saints look to defend that next week. Jordan Tripp, did you trim your beard? Yes, I did. I did. Trim it all the time, unlike you. Kelly Eaton, McCaffrey, heart face emojis. Yes, we know you ladies love McCaffrey. Hit that love button if you do. All right, so I think we've hit on all of them today. McCaffrey, 2 receptions for 35 yards. Ian Rappaport tweeted early this morning saying McCaffrey took increased reps at the slot wide receiver position this week at practice, and that could transfer over to the game. It did not, and that was, once again, it was all over the place, and we even said it on our pages before the game as well. This is likely a move just to get him acclimated in case an injury happens to a guy like Kalen Clay or Russell Shepard. He can step immediately into that role and be that guy to take over there until we can get, hopefully, Damiere Byrd back next week. And I think that's all that was.
Yeah, because I was excited to see it fantasy-wise.
You were just hoping to see it fantasy-wise.
Fantasy-wise, I was hoping to see it, but no, I was. We saw it less than we've seen, in the rest of the season. As you see, he only had 2 receptions.
Yeah.
On 5 targets.
Yep.
So that's low. That's low for him.
Yeah, it definitely is. All right, let's jump to the defensive recap here. So we can talk about the GOAT and go ahead and get this out of the way. Luke Kuechly, 9 total tackles, 4 solos, and, of course, the biggest one was the scoop and score off the forced fumble. And clutch time. That's really, I can't say anything else about it. And I was, we were watching this play live, guys, and I'll explain this for a minute. I got my buddy Derek and, Billy, Derek's wife, and my wife over here. We're watching the game, and McCown goes to pull the ball up after he was clearly getting sacked. And I didn't know what the hell he was trying to do. McCown things, I guess. But the ball goes up, and I just thought it was going to land in Latule's hands, and I see it hit the ground, and the Jets O-lineman jump on it. The ball disappears as soon as he, goes to fall on it, and I'm, livid. I'm like, Latule, how do you miss that ball? And as soon as I walk away from the TV, Billy and Derek lose it, and they're sitting there yelling, no, look. And I look up, and Luke Kuechly is running to the end zone. It was the best premature thing I've ever done in my life, I think, because at the time, well, maybe the second best. At the time, I was, we needed something that big. We needed a turnover. We've been talking about it. The defense really needs to come up with this big turnover like they do every game, and that one came up at the biggest time it could have. The offense had been struggling. They did just drive down and score that big touchdown. But the Jets hadn't had any trouble moving the ball either. So, I was stoked to see it. You actually watched the whole play, so
yeah, I never took my eyes off the screen, and I look at you for a second, and you got your head down, turn around, I'm like, hold, wait,
yeah,
and there's Luke ball popped to him, and he's run for the touchdown. It was like I was saying, turnover. We need a turnover now, and that was right after our punt return for a touchdown, and then we come back. We're like, okay, we need a turnover. Here it comes, and we're up.
Yeah.
It was. I'm glad that we got a turnover today, because that's something we haven't seen a lot this season.
Yeah. Jordan saying, I was just informed you're not actually at the Panther Stadium. I'm disappointed. Is that true? No, we were in the press box. We don't travel because we don't have the money, so we just sit in the press box. We pay like $5,000 rent every month just to do this show. So we thank y'all for supporting us with no income. We'll be in debt for a while. No, we're not. This is actually just a really sweet backdrop. Rob Piercy, Charles Johnson actually tackled somebody. Yes, he did, and then he didn't contain the edge on third down against Josh McCown, who ran for a first down, which is really frustrating to see. Monica Hillian, what's up, girl? Time for me to be a guest on the show, Trip. Look, call in. The number's right there, guys. Y'all feel free to call in, 702-665-0489. I mean, we've been pushing for this every week. This is part of the reason we do the show. We're trying to give y'all something we don't see everywhere else and twist it up a little bit. So.
I'm just reading. I have to say I'm really impressed with the safety Adams this year. He's almost playing better than Coleman. Still a little worried. Or the corners against the Saints, Falcons, other high-powered offenses. Worley, take your ass to the house. Don't come back next week. I hate Worley. I just gotta say it. Worley in the beginning of the season, I talked a lot of trash on Worley. Worley wasn't spoke about for a couple weeks. Today was Worley doing his early Worley things, and it's really irritating.
Yeah. Look, by the way, for Monica Hillian, guys, comment. Y'all be sure to check out her group, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Monica. I'm a big Panthers fan, so I think it's Unleashed for Life, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure that's it. Y'all check out her group. Join that. Bunch of news and fun talks and discussions there about Panthers football. And yes, Johannes West was the one talking about that secondary. Look, Worley has been the most inconsistent. As soon as we start talking bad about him, he has a good game. And I hope that's the case next week, because we're really going to need it. But I'm telling you, I was shocked. Kevon, of course, Kevon was in some today. He was playing some slot, which he didn't look good on. He'd been playing outside duties and really had pretty much all but taken the job from Worley. He'd been playing more snaps there each week now. But Worley, man, Jesus, the passing, he got beat on the slant inside. You can't give inside leverage, number one. I mean, that's like the number one rule of cornerbacking. He gives that in man coverage and then comes back and then gets the pass interference and gives him the ball, a first down on the 1 yard line. And we actually hold him to a field goal there, so he got bailed out. But disappointing to say the least. At the end of last season, we didn't draft a cornerback in the first round, mainly because Worley and Bradbury was great, really good throughout the year last year anyway. But Worley had came on in the second half of the year, and it was like, look, we finally going to have some, two good cornerbacks, and he hasn't proven it. Kevon Seymour is proving, when he's outside corner anyway and not playing nickel, is proving to be a big pickup, who the Panthers originally traded Kalen Clay for before the season to get Kevon Seymour from the Bills, and then we're still able to pick Clay back up off of waivers. Huge. Yep. I mean, it's been huge. I mean, obviously, Kalen Clay is a big reason we won this game. Beautiful spin move on that punt return from a touchdown. I mean, you were watching that live. I know you were a big fan of that spin move.
Yeah, as soon as I was like, I saw the spin. I was like, oh my, nice spin. And then I was like, let's go into the house.
Yep.
But Worley did bad today, but I think the whole secondary today, and that's something that I'm really worried about next week, like playing Drew Brees.
I mean, here's the thing. Here's my whole thing with the Panthers defense and Steve Wilkes this year. I like the aggressiveness of blitzing because, we had the ball. McDermott blitz, but he wasn't nearly as aggressive. I think Panthers are first or second in the league percentage-wise of blitzing. But McDermott was more of a zone guy. He liked playing zone, which led to the Panthers, the defense's big, more turnovers. Because you're actually looking, you're watching the QB, you're able to hawk, play the zone, jump routes, and everything else. When you're playing man, your eyes are running with the receiver and your back's to the ball. So that makes it much harder for a defender. But the reason for that is you're counting on the blitz to get to the quarterback and not have to worry about that or force them to make a quick bad throw for the defense to make an interception or go incomplete. The Panthers' defense, stat-wise, is top of the league. But we just gave up 27 points to the Jets today. And, I mean, they made drives look easy. And I mean, a lot of it's disciplinary issues. You know, we had several penalties today that were just god awful, mental mistakes, offsides, stuff like that, and things you just can't do. But you know, if people were on, well, I was talking to some people on Twitter saying, you know, I hate this conservative late stuff, and I'm like, maybe we went conservative after we went up 12, but I'm not really going to get mad at that when there's 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter to do it on one drive, because you don't want to give up that deep shot and then them score and still have, you know, 5.5 minutes left in the game. Make them drive down and spend 2.5 minutes off the clock, and then you hope that your offense can drive the ball down. But when you know, if you're aggressive and the blitzes aren't landing, it can get ugly, and it can get ugly really quick, because chances are there's a receiver we just don't have outside of Bradbury, who has kind of struggled, to be honest, in man coverage. I mean, he's been easily our best defender, and he's good, but he's not who he was last year in zone. We compared him a lot to Josh Norman. Josh Norman is a much better zone defender. He's still a good man defender, but you can't expect any DB man-on-man to stick with a receiver who he's trying to watch to stay open for 5-7 seconds.
And that was what was happening today.
Yep.
And McCowan, give him some credit. I mean, he was directing his receivers in those plays that he was keeping alive. You know, Anderson just had to burn us a couple times.
Yeah, I mean, look.
But, for that amount of time, I'll give him a little bit of credit. But I can't give any credit to Word.
I got to give him props for pointing down the field and actually sending the guy.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. To direct traffic, you know, when he's keeping those plays alive, scrambling, and he had some good throws today. And, you know, our guys, they just got to stay on man.
Yeah, got to be more disciplined. That was on Kurt Coleman, actually. And that's terrible for a veteran to do something like that. Get caught eyeing the quarterback when he's scrambling that deep down the field and not be locked on to the receiver. That's unacceptable. We're going to jump back to some comments here because I see y'all rolling in with them. Kelly Eaton, is there a guest appearance? I heard Derek was at the stadium. Yes, Derek is live here at the stadium. Derek, what's up, Derek?
What's up, baby?
Okay, well, he's right here. He don't want to show y'all his sexy hair. But see, Austin Bell, what do y'all think of the pass rush? It worries me next week if we can contain the run game and get pressure on Breeze to slow down. Look, we kind of just hit on the secondary and Breeze. We'll hit on this run game for a minute. I feel like, man, look, Kamara, and today I really feel like a lot of Kamara's, big plays were terrible tackling angles by the Rams defense, and I think our guys will be better at that. I think we can shut down Mark Ingram. He's not my worry at all. Kamara's big playability it'll be troublesome.
Yeah, Kamara in the open field is, and I haven't watched, because the Saints are usually playing at the same time, so this is the first time I actually got to sit down and watch the Saints game. And I'm a fantasy guy, so I see Kamara's stats, but to see it in action on the field, in the open field, yes, were they missing some tackles, but he was making some of those tackles be missed. I mean, he's shifty. I mean, he's fast. Yeah. He can catch the ball, and that's what really worries me is, we can tackle, but in the open field, he's going to be a big problem for us.
Yeah, look, the Saints nailed the draft for the first time in years, and it's improved their team so much. Marshawn Lattimore, a cornerback, which is a big reason I believe that the Rams were able to move the ball through the air as effectively as they did today with Sammy Watkins having Robert Woods out. Marshawn Lattimore has been incredible and has my vote for Defensive Player of the Year. I don't care if he's a Saint or not. He has been a lockdown corner. He's given up no touchdowns this season, and it showed when he was out this week. I don't really know his status. We'll see more about that going into next week's game. But if he's out, that's going to be huge for them. And then they got Ron Ramczyk, have solidified the offensive line some. And then they picked up Alvin Kamara in the third round. He was projected to go second. And they picked him up in the third. And I mean, it's been huge additions for him.
Everybody talking about Panthers didn't get Fournette, and we got McCaffrey, and they're mad at that. I'm mad that Kamara went in the third round, and he's turned out to what he is like.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Yeah, he's good, and I like I said earlier, he's in the running big time for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, we're gonna keep trying to hit these comments. Y'all will keep them coming. Buddy Den from the Keep Poundin' podcast. Y'all be sure to check that out. Had him on the show for a preview. Have to get him back up here again. Fellas, presentation looks great. Appreciate it. Thoughts on Russell Shepard dropping these layup passes in his role on the team right now? It was disappointing against the Dolphins. I don't even recall seeing. I know he was in the game, but did he drop I don't remember him getting targeted much. Let me pull up these stats. And Dan, if you're still up here, comment and let me know which ones you're talking about.
He wasn't according to the stats, he wasn't targeted.
I don't see him targeted at all, which is kind of surprising with Samuel going out because it was expected for him his targets to improve. I did notice he did play more slot role today, which was kind of interesting.
Burson was on the field a lot.
Yeah, Burson came in. Yeah, he was in there, especially late. Rob Pearson, we all hate Worley, brother. Worley just ain't aggressive. No, he's not. I'm a diehard Panthers fan here living in Brooklyn, so I can go to work with a big smile on my face. Keep pounding. Ron Tony. Yeah, do that. They open the stadium for y'all to do your show. Yeah, man. I mean, just got it made like that right now. Panther Pride, Panther Growl is the... I'm sorry, Monica. You're absolutely right. That's what it was. I knew I was getting it wrong. Y'all check out the Panther group, Panther Pride, Panther Proud, Panther Growl. Yeah, y'all said that 3 times fast. That's why I hate bye weeks. Cam had a bad game too. Yep. Glad we got Chris Martinez on Greg Olson. I think it was strictly precautionary, judging by Rivera's comments after the game. We were kind of hitting on that early on. Oh my God!
I saw a meme today with this. Like, we're undefeated since we got Burson.
Yeah. Johans West, I hate to say it, but we are 3-0 since Burson has been back. LOL. All kidding aside, I think we need to get them, Bird, Clay, and Shepard involved more. I think people will start double McCaffrey and Funch if Olsen is out. Look, and these guys were involved today, but I'm going to go back and say Cam Newton did not have a good game today, guys. He missed open receivers, and if, we were talking about this during the game, and I said it afterwards. If we were going to have a shitty week, I'm glad it was this week and not next week. And hopefully this wakes them up and gets them, it gets their stuff together for next week, and I think they will. It's rare Cam has back-to-back bad games like he did today, as bad games today. So I'm hoping he's able to bounce back like that. Rob Piercy, Kamara's quickness does scare me a bit. Have to make tackles. Yeah, Kamara's that dude right now. Look, the Saints could easily have the Rookie of the Year, defensive player, Rookie of the Year, both on the same team. I mean, and that's incredible. They really nailed the draft this year. Hey, guys, do you think there's a possibility of more of our games getting flexed to the later time slot? The schedule makers will be happy this way, playing the Saints. The Vikings games was a possibility as of last week. I don't know what other matchups are going on that week, so I'm not going to comment on that one. Obviously, the Saints game has already been flexed. Outside the Vikings, I don't see it happening. I don't think there's anybody really left to, no, I don't see the Falcons being flexed either. The NFC is just too tough right now. A lot of other matchups, potentials that could get flexed, and if they flex the Vikings, that should definitely be it, because I think we're about out of that time where they can flex them anyway. I think it's like the next week or so, but we'll keep an eye on that. William Lee, I'm sorry I missed some of this broadcast, so what's your thoughts of us playing the Saints? We're actually going to hit more on that here. We're going to end the show on that. Was Armah on the field, Colin Amir? No, Armah was inactive today. They brought Fozzie Whitaker back for the first time since his injury, and it's, we originally thought that with McCaffrey taking increased reps at the slot wide receiver position, that maybe some of that was because of, they brought Whitaker back. Obviously, he was going to help in the return game and go back to that with Samuel going to IR. But maybe it was because, CMC was going to be in the slot more, and they wanted that running back depth there to, rotate. And I think Fozzie I think he had just a couple carries. He didn't record a carry at all today. So that was interesting. But no, Armah was inactive because of that. Walter Vanderpue. Oh, I hope I pronounced that right. That would be a win. Zing. How much of an issue is Cam's thumb injury? This is actually a pretty good question, because Rivera stated after the game that Cam's thumb may have been bothering him a bit, and actually said something during the game after he rushed for a few yards. Cam was like kind of messing with his right hand and looking at his fingers, and I didn't know if he had tweaked something, but I didn't even think about the thumb injury until after the game, and Rivera said the thumb may still be bothering him a bit, but he didn't wear that protective glove today.
Yeah, they talked about at the beginning of the game. I was like, okay, his thumb. And then about in the third quarter, in the back of my mind, I was like, well, he does have a hurt thumb. Who knows how he did it, what the injury is. But we haven't seen him, overthrowing a bunch of people today. There's a lot of it. Maybe it was the thumb giving him issues.
Yeah, well, I I do and I don't hope it was that. I'm not gonna.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
today,
I'm not gonna.
but
Yeah.
you get another week, and hopefully it's a thumb.
If it has been an issue, I hope it's healed by next week. Because he missed several throws today, did not look good. But look, an ugly win is a win, and it was, like I said, it was perfect time for an ugly win if we're gonna have one. Armagh was inactive. I think he needs to play more too. Yeah, look, the run game was good while he was in there running those power formations, the eye and whatnot. So we'll see if they bring that back. When are people going to say the NFC South is the best division in football? I don't know, Ron, but damn it if they shouldn't. That is. Look at the NFC. 3 of us are in there right now. Just look.
Are you talking about for this season or over the years? Because I mean,
it's been the most competitive division over the years by far, regardless if they're all bad or not.
Yeah,
competitive.
Maybe not in the last 4 years, but
I'd say the last 3 years, 2 to 3 years. Well, I'll say 2 years.
Because the Saints were really bad, the Bucks were really bad.
Yeah, and what was it? 2014, we got in. That was a bad season.
Losing record almost. Yes.
Yeah, and those were bad teams. But this year, I don't think there's a more competitive division this season than NFC South. I mean, 3 of us are projected right now to be in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, this year definitely. But as a long term, I don't know. Panthers ran it for a little while. So
Antoinette Williams, Saints are not unbeatable as we saw in the Rams game. What you think the Panthers need to do that they didn't do the last time to win in New Orleans? Run the ball. That's an easy answer for me. Run it. The run opens up so much. It opens up stuff for any offense. We say this all the time, but it's kind of common sense for football. But for the Panthers who like to pound the rock, and especially with Cam Newton running the ball, it opens up a plethora of options for Cam Newton. The run-pass option is a big deal when it's hitting its stride, and the run's actually a threat. You saw today when they were shutting down that run earlier, we were talking about it, they started moving that safety in the box, and we're leaving one over top and leaving guys and stacking 9 men. If that's happening, you're not going to run the ball, and if Cam's getting hit, within 2 seconds, it's never going to be pretty. Fortunately, we were able to get out of that later in the game and separate some. Has Ken Dorsey really done enough with Cam's footwork since taking over as QB coach after Shula's head coach? He throws off his back foot a lot, and his front shoulder is always too high, leading to overthrows. Maybe some things are too late to change, but overthrows seem to always be an issue with Cam. Colin O'Meara. Look, me personally, I don't think Cam's mechanics are going to get any better at this point. I think, we just need to accept it. And they're not the worst we've ever seen. There are times where it's like, Cam, what are you doing? Like, that was awful. But he just seems to me to trust his arm strength too much, and maybe that's the downfall of having an arm like Cam does, is he trusts that arm too much, and he doesn't focus on his feet enough. And maybe that is some of Ken Dorsey. I'm not there. I don't know Ken Dorsey's backstory. Cam hasn't worked with another quarterback coach except for, I think Mike Shula was his quarterback coach, actually, maybe for a little while before he took over the job. But Ken Dorsey's been there the whole time as well. So maybe Ken Dorsey is a part to play, but I can't say that. I'm not there.
And we touched on this earlier in the season when that stat came out about missed passes or overthrows. And Cam, it's memorable right when it happens. But over time, Cam is actually not that bad, according to that stat that came out earlier that we talked about weeks ago. And because Jameis Winston was number one. Jameis Winston is number one. So, yes, there are times it just seems to be when Cam needs to hit that pass or that person is wide open, that is when he does it. But he doesn't do it often. But it's at big times in the game that he chooses to do it.
I think it's funny. We said that after the last game, and then today's game, he threw like 3 or 4 overthrows. Of course, that shit happens. It's about like me sitting Joe Mixon finally, and he goes off for 26 points in fantasy. But we're not here to talk about that kind of fantasy. Too late to change overthrows. Do you think it was a good idea to trade Kelvin Benjamin? Yep, already hit on it. Done. Do you think CJ should ever be on the field? I watched him fall over like some old man tripping over his metal detector. I liked him, but he's an absolute dumpster fire now. What you think?
Who are we talking about?
Charles Johnson, defensive end.
Indifferent. I mean,
I think the reason he stayed with us the last 2 years after his contract and he signed back-to-back years, last year he wasn't a big pressure threat, but he's typically good at containing the edge and run defense. He hasn't been that this year as good. Of course, the last couple weeks, or 2 weeks, last 2 games, people have been commenting up here saying, oh, we saw Charles Johnson get a tackle, And he has kind of done that. Today, though, he didn't contain the edge I was talking about against Josh McCown on that scramble play. That's something a veteran has to do. I could see this being his last year. I said that after the Dolphins, or the game before the Dolphins, the Atlanta game. But, it remains to be seen. He's getting up there in age, and he's not providing the pressure. I don't know. We'll have to see how that plays out. Bunches had over 100 receiving yards. I don't think Cam Stone was an issue. It was just rush passes and lack of execution at times. We play better in big games. Well, every game from here on out is a big game with the NFC shaping up the way it is, in my opinion. So I hope you're right, and I hope from here on out we nail it. We've got the Saints and the Vikings in back-to-back weeks, one on the road and one at home, and they're going to be huge, not easy games. I mean, these are going to be tough games.
And, we talk about Cam not making these passes. We threw down the field a lot today. Like, more so than other weeks. We threw some long passes.
Opened up that way.
And I was really impressed because we're usually dink and dunk and pound the ball, but we were throwing some bombs on the field. And, Cam's not super accurate. That's pretty funny. But and I think that has something to do with his completion, percentage today, is we weren't throwing those 5-yard passes or those screen plays. We were throwing bombs on the field.
All right, I'm going to do something for one of my boys up here and jump into the comments. Tell us what you think of the Redskins, Chargers, Steelers, and Eagles. Shout out to Jason, Robbie, Blake, T-Dub, and Robbie. Also, give us a rundown of the big beer bitch showdown. I wish I'd put that in here. No, so these are guys in our fantasy league, some good friends of ours. And we'll do this real quick. Eagles, obviously a force right now. Super Bowl favorite in NFC. They're dominating. Let's see. Redskins, injuries are killing you. The defense looked great to start the season, and it's hurting you now, and the hell with you for blowing that lead against the Saints. Chargers, sneaky AFC team, in my opinion. And Steelers, defense is underrated, in my opinion, and they obviously have the offense. What do you think?
You can say the Redskins suck.
Yeah.
Chargers, Phillip Rivers just is ageless. I don't know. He gets it done.
Yeah.
The Steelers, the offense is good. The defense is coming around, but the offense clicked the last week. If they continue to click like that, my fantasy teams will be happy, and the Steelers should be happy. And the Eagles, oh, man, Super Bowl.
They got both sides working right now. The defense is rocking, getting the turnovers, getting pressure, and then Carson Wentz is he just looks as poised as you can be. They look special right now. We'll see.
I hate to say
NFC is going to be tough playoffs regardless.
It's going to be really tough. Whoever gets in the playoffs is going to be tough. But if the Eagles stay how they are, we played them close at the beginning of the year, but
yeah, we killed ourselves in that game too.
That Eagles team is just
they've looked great since.
Yeah.
No denying that. And a quick rundown of the big beer bitch showdown. So in our fantasy league, if you come in last place in fantasy, we have a 14-team league, PPR. If you come in last place, you have to wear – we designated a T-shirt, and we drew on it and said, I'm the beer bitch. And obviously, you have to get beers at the draft party for everybody else the next year, or at the end-of-season party. You have to get everybody's beer. Whenever somebody asks for it, you have to go to the fridge and get it. And right now, we have a 2-8 and a 2-8 and a 3-9 team playing each other this week, essentially, for what could be – one of those two will be beer bitches. And I think the last place team is actually beating –
they're going to win.
Are they?
Yeah, they're going.
And he actually has more total points this season than the second to last place guy, 13th place. So he would catapult him, and we have one more week left, so it could be a showdown.
Yeah, he's winning by 50 right now.
Yes, I'd say he's got that.
Yeah.
Fun times there, though. All right, so we're gonna jump back to some Panther stuff. Corey Davis, time for CJ to go. Yeah, that would be my guess after this season, guys. Michael Paul Turbot, this was a gritty win that we would have probably lost last year. Biggest thing is we took care of the ball. I'll take an ugly win over a pretty loss anyway. Bring on the Aints. Keep pounding. Yeah, right back at you. Justin said he hates you. Colin O'Meara, do you agree with Fox Sports Spielman telling viewers that Vernon Butler has been a huge disappointment in his career so far? Given his first-round status, he has been a disappointment. I personally wouldn't say he's a bust, but he's been dealing with injuries and has stiff competition with the other defensive tackles he's rotating with. What are your opinions?
Man, I
haven't seen a whole lot of them to make a lot of decisions, I guess. But
yeah, and I'm not one to watch the trenches. I'm really not. So when we get asked
Wins
questions,
the games, baby.
Yeah, but
It's hard to watch. It's not an easy one to watch.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when I played football, I played as a lineman, I played as a fullback, but it's just I don't enjoy watching the line. I just don't.
Well, I'll say this: he is in obviously one of the toughest rotations to compete with snap and everything else with Kawan Short and Star Latulippe, Kyle Love, and all them. And he has been riddled with injuries, Colin. You're absolutely right. And when he was in last year, he made plays while he was his rookie season. He made plays when he was in, but he just wasn't in enough because one, it's a tough rotation, and then two, he was injured. And whether you want to call a guy injury prone or bad luck or whatever it is, the fact of the matter is he's not on the field. And when he's not on the field, he's obviously not going to help your team, and he's not going to prove his worth. Today you saw him make some good plays. I think he also had a offsides or neutral zone maybe mental error, but nonetheless, I think he got that one batted ball, and that was when the commentator actually said something. He's been a huge disappointment considering his status, and I still believe that the potential what Dave Gettleman was looking for there was somebody to replace Star Latulippe when his contract came up if he didn't prove his worth, because the Panthers are going to be in cap trouble after this season. They had to sign a lot of people, had to re-sign Kawan Short and Luke Kuechly last year, and then all that mess. So, that's my opinion. It's going to be hard not to sign Star Latulippe after the season that he's put up the last year and a half. He seemed to be regressing, and we were talking about letting him go, and that was around the time Vernon Butler was picked up, and now Star's playing, top of his game. So we'll see how that works out. Jason, I'm not commenting on that beating me in fantasy. Screw you, Joe Mixon.
Thank you for beating him. I needed it.
Yeah, you did need it. All right, so we're starting this new thing called Cam's Dog Award because Cam's dog came back this week, but his dog went right back out. Who would you say was Cam's dog on offense this week?
That's the easy one.
Devin Funchess. Devin Funchess, yeah.
And that's going to be the dog going down the stretch.
I think it's going to have to be – he's going to have to play as a big dog, too, if the Panthers offense wants to keep moving, even if Greg Olson's in there. And I think he will be. I think he can be. Since he's gone out, like I said, Dolphins, 92 yards, 2 touchdowns. This week, 100. I think he did drop that one pass we talked about. I can live with that if he's not getting beat by cornerbacks and causing us, not helping Cam on interception.
KB dropped more.
Yeah, right, exactly. A lot of those sideline passes, KB doesn't catch. Even worse, run down the field for extra yards. So Davis Senior's last year. No, he just signed a 2-year contract. I think it was this year.
Yeah,
I think he signed 2 more years.
Yeah, so you got to remember. He's up there in age, but he didn't play for 3 years.
And while we're talking about injuries, he had a thigh injury today. He played through it for a little while, and then he went out. We'll see. I haven't actually seen a whole lot from the presser after the game. We'll see how that works out and what they say about that moving forward. But that also could be a big key. You're talking about Olsen here. So you have to watch how he does. If Damiere Byrd comes back, Damiere Byrd coming back could be big, in my opinion, because he's a better catcher than Kalen Clay is. So, we've seen him toast people. Granted, it's preseason. But we've seen him toast people left and right. But that's what you got to start somewhere and see something. So we'll see how that goes. Billy has haters, or are they jealous? I don't know what that means. Fun needs to stop drops. Yeah, he had that one. It was, like I said, he should have had that. But Brandon, Keith Cox, 3 ACLs, that has to wear on you. Yeah, but that was 5 years ago. Yeah. I'm sure it also helps keep the rest of your body healthy while you're out during that time. It almost prolongs your career in one way.
He's talked about that in one of the documentaries I saw. That he had those surgeries, but that was 3 years that he didn't have to go get beat up. Exactly. That he got to rehab and he got to just watch football. And that 3 years in the NFL is a long time. I think that's above average. I'm pretty sure.
Yep. Player of the game. I might have to give this one to Luke. That play was huge. And
Luke or Clay, toss up.
Yeah, Clutch. I'd have to give it to Luke though, because Luke's came first, and it completely changed the whole momentum of the ball game, in my opinion. And obviously, he lines that defense up. He's all over the damn field, man. He has to be the most intense, at least defensive player on the field during a game in the NFL right now. Well, one of them. I won't get to watch all the other teams, but this year, I mean, man, after every little, if somebody gets 3 yards, he is jumping up, pissed at somebody, and like you're glad to see it, and it gets you jacked up. But it's fun to watch him. What's up with Worley? We missed captain. Yeah, and people were talking about before this game. We don't really need captain this week of going against the Jets. Well, I think that proved otherwise because the nickel package, and the commentators actually hit on something we talked about all year. Shaq Thompson and man coverage against the slot guy, and Robbie Anderson was that slot guy today, and that's just an ugly matchup. Yeah. You can't have that. Walter Vanderpue, I think TD can play for 5 more years. Let's not do that to him. Go spend some time with your family. Corey Davis, definitely Luke player of the game. Agreed. Michael Paul Turbert, he's the heartbeat of our team, hands down. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's an absolute machine. All right, so here's the road to the playoffs. Right now, and I didn't have this pulled up already, but right now we've got – I'll pull up NFL. Obviously, the Eagles are first. The Rams are second. Is that right?
Yes.
And then the Saints fell. I don't know if they fell at all. Crap. Pull up the conference, guys. Sorry about this. I'm going to tell y'all false information. But right next week, obviously, the Panthers and Saints are both 8-3 playing each other. That'll decide a lot. This thing isn't switching for me. I don't know what's going on there.
Sorry. It was there.
But and then the Falcons win today. They nearly blew that lead against Tampa Bay, dude.
Yeah.
They were up 27 to 7 or something, and Tampa Bay came back and was able to cut it to. They cut it to 7,
yeah.
And then Falcons scored a late touchdown. Julio Jones absolutely toasted them. All right, so right now you got the Eagles at 10-1, Vikings at 9-2, so they would be second seed. New Orleans at 8-3, Carolina at 8-3, Rams at 8-3. I think Rams actually hold that third spot over over the Saints now. Saints would be 4th. Where's Seattle in this mix now? Are they outside looking in?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, that's right, because Rams are ahead of them. Yeah, that's correct.
You have the Rams ahead of them, and then you have the Atlanta Falcons.
So you got the Eagles. Damn, I just had this all backwards. Eagles, Vikings, Rams, Saints, Panthers, Falcons. And then outside you have Seattle looking in. But obviously Panthers could jump that next week if they're able to beat New Orleans, take division lead. Then they got to come right back home and play the Minnesota Vikings. Not an easy 2 weeks coming up.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I'm not so worried about the Vikings game as I am the Saints. I'm way more worried about the Saints.
My only concern about the Vikings game is we just haven't played them well, ever. I mean, their defense has been good the last couple of times we played them. Obviously, the last few years they've had a very steady defense. They waxed us in 2014? They absolutely demolished us on like 2 punt returns for touchdown. We had terrible special teams play, and I don't know. We don't play great against them. And if we do beat them, they're going to blame Greg Olson in his broadcasting. Whoops. So that'll be fun to watch.
And you can go ahead and say, if Aaron Rodgers comes back, we got another hard one right after that with the Packers.
Yeah, if Aaron Rodgers comes back, that would be a brutal three-game stretch. And look, it really doesn't get any easier if that's the case.
It's all division games.
Division games after that. You got the Bucs at home. We should win that game. If we lose that, that'd be questionable playoff caliber team. And then you got the Falcons at Atlanta on New Year's Eve. So, I mean, last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games of the season. Not going to be easy, particularly these next two are obviously the biggest keys unless Rodgers comes back. Rodgers, I would be I don't see how they could bring him back with them not having really a strong chance at the playoffs. But it's Aaron Rodgers. He wants to come back. Chances are he's probably going to come back. Anything can happen over the next 2-3 weeks.
How far are they out in their?
They're 5-5 right now. I mean, there's a chance an 11-5 team doesn't even make the playoffs in the NFC this year. A 10-6 team likely won't. You've got Seattle is 7-4, right behind Atlanta looking in, and then Detroit at 6-5. Green Bay is right behind them at 5-5. I would easily say Green Bay loses at least one more game before they play the Panthers, and I would venture to say they probably lose both.
They lose tonight. They lose tonight. They're playing Steelers.
Oh yeah, they should lose tonight. Yeah, that shouldn't even be a close one then. So there's one right there, 5-6. And if they go to 5-7, they're out, and that would be before Carolina. And I don't see why McCarthy would want even chance rushing him back even a week early at that point if they're not really in contention, unless something crazy happens the rest of the way, and Carolina, New Orleans, and all of us start falling out for some reason. I just don't see that happening right now. But, yeah, and then you fall down to Dallas, and after that it just really gets out of control. Dallas isn't going to make the playoffs this year. Steve Smith going to be retired as a Carolina Panther. Dean Hall. Dean, I haven't heard that. I hope so one day. With Gettleman gone, it's much easier to believe now. Rob Piercy Wilkes needs to give us more of a look over the middle at the first down marker when it comes to Breeze tossing the ball around. You can see Luke's frustration with letting teams get their shot right on the damn marker with soft coverage. Completely agree. And Thomas Davis and Shaq Thompson played so soft today on Safarian Jenkins in the slot and tight formations, it wasn't even funny. Get up there, and TD's normally good at this. Jam the man, hit him off his mark. They were letting him float free through those seams, and McCann was just hitting him quick, and he was picking up 10 to 12 yards. And who was it? Dean's right, or was it Dean or Rob? Rob, he's right. Luke was livid.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw that, and we talked about it throughout the whole game. Let's see here. Yeah, Minnesota. Yeah. Michael Paul Turbert, Minnesota game will probably be flexed to 425. It's a possibility. I'm not going to rule that out, especially if we beat New Orleans next week. It obviously increases those chances, especially if they stay at, with only 2 losses, or they got 3. God knows I'm getting myself confused. NFC is just too close. I think it's 2 losses. 2 losses. NFC is a madhouse right now. Was something mentioned about Rodgers coming back? Yes, they talked about. Billy knows a little bit more about this.
They said that Rodgers, the first week he'd be able to come back would be the week of the Panthers game. I follow Rodgers because of fantasy, and Rodgers has said himself, if I can come back, I'm coming back. It doesn't matter what the playoff picture is. He just wants to play. I mean, if you're out of the playoffs, does the team say, hey, you're not the one to make the decision, or say, oh, you're our all-star quarterback. If you want to play, we're going to let you play. And I would be more scared against a Rodgers that's coming off an injury and surgery 8 weeks than I am Brett Hundley.
Oh, well, I think anybody would
but
agree.
even Rusty, he still can get it done.
Yeah, and Michael actually followed that comment saying he was warming up the night before their game, which is something to say the least, and then he can come back off the IR against us, which is correct.
Yeah, he started throwing. He started throwing 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. A lot of teams don't. I mean, of course, the Panthers aren't the best for this, but they are IR. They normally play it safe to give those players an extra week to come back the week after they're eligible to come back. So it'll just be something to watch. That is a home game. We did beat them last time, so hopefully maybe we can keep that. Maybe something happens there. We'll keep an eye on it. What happened to Olsen? Is it a setback for him? They said he aggravated his foot, but Rivera said it was just sore. We're hoping it's it was precautionary move today. Kenneth Hilton, Green Bay winning today. No chance. I can't see that.
I think they're winning. They're winning now.
They're winning now.
I haven't looked at the stats, but it looks like the Steelers went for 2 and did not confirm.
Oh,
so it's 7-6.
God! Right after I said the Pittsburgh defense was playing underrated. Yeah, well, we'll have to keep an eye on that. So that's the road to the playoffs. That's this week. If y'all don't have any more comments or questions, we're going to jump out of here. Look, y'all be sure to like us, follow us here on Facebook. We're on Twitter at Panther Source. That's where you can find us during the game. You find me during the game tweeting, talking about the game, back and forth, interacting with y'all there. I don't get on Facebook during the game except for halftime and after the game to post the scores at those present times. Check us out on YouTube. We put all our stuff up there. Subscribe. And Instagram, Panthers_source, and it's at Panther Source on everything, so it's easy to find. So, yeah, Billy, you got anything you need to?
Hopefully we can beat the Saints next week. Keep pounding.
It's going to be a tough one. We'll be back. I didn't do a preview this past week because it was Thanksgiving holiday, family stuff. I was getting some new stuff added into this studio to get a sweet backdrop so we don't look so ugly for y'all. But anyway, we'll be back next week, and keep pounding. Thanks for joining.